Episode of the Shuffle Bus. Jesse back here again with Neil joining me. This time for my round 2 matchup with Phillycheaz. Philly is playing a James deck with 4 natural dice, 3 ceremonial, and 3 divine. I'm back on, obviously, the Odette's Hounds list you saw from round 1 with when I played with Problem. That was commentated by Nick and Neil, and big thanks to Nick for doing that. It was awesome to have him on the channel. Getting to hear his feedback. One thing I'm super excited about with this matchup, Neil, and we're going to pause just for a second so we don't go too deep, is that I don't have to face any board sweepers. There's no board sweepers in this list. That makes me very happy. Let me tell you.
Board sweepers would not be very good in his list.
No, but I'm fine with that.
I guess like Miss Typhoon and 100 Blades don't hit your own guys, but he's got a lot of little men.
Yeah, he does. And I think at the end of the day, like I said, I feel like I'm in a much more favorable position in this matchup, but I will admit that one of the things that scares me going into the matchup with James is just the speed that James is going to flood the field with allies, and that I'm not a deck that is fast, right? Like my deck is slow and methodical to set up, and then it sort of turns a corner mid-late game. And so the question is, for me, going into this matchup is, against a fast ally style deck, am I able to stabilize the board and make the turn? It's going to be this is one of the closest matchups I've ever played. So I think that there are a number of points in time in this match where one decision has a huge implication on the end of the game. And not that at the time they were wrong decisions, but at the outcome of the game, you go, oh, that's where it hurt me, or that's where it didn't hurt me, or whatever, right? So like, I'll be curious to get your takes and thoughts on it as we move into the gameplay. I want to give a lot of credit to Phillycheaz. I talked to him before the game. He is a Ashes 1.0 player. He's played in almost all of the major tournaments for Ashes, so he's a skilled Ashes player. Was not aware of his history. Matt Bowers was kind enough to sort of tell me that he just doesn't play very much Ashes, but he prefers to play competitive Ashes. So he specifically came out to play in our tournament, which I think is awesome. I'm excited that was a draw for somebody like Philly to get involved in the community. So I want to thank him for being a great opponent and being really a great competitor all the way around. I'm sure he's going to do really well in this tournament. So let's go ahead and get started with the round 1. I'm on standard first 5 plan here, sort of. Well, okay, so you're
sort of.
Well, before we go too far, count my dice. Right before this tournament started, I went to the small dice so that I could use the dice roller, because I built this in the old table, and the old table has larger scale dice, and you can't use the dice roller. And I just like the dice roller from a cleanliness perspective and an organization perspective. I have 9 dice right now. And so...
It's like you're playing Vicky.
Right. Well, so the problem with that is that I don't catch it in time, and the way the dice works out, instead of running Sword of Virtue, I run the River Scald in this matchup because I'm worried about the fast allies. And I have the correct number of dice to do this, providing that I have 6 illusion dice, but I have 5 there. And so I don't catch it until late, and by the time I catch it, and my opponent's kind enough to let me obviously put my 10th dice into the pool and roll it in, but it's already too late because I've spent all of my sympathy dice, so I can't play the River Scald. So that puts me behind right out of the gate. And this is just a reminder to everybody: if you're going to monkey with something before you play a match, make sure you double check everything. And I was just like, I did this like literally 2 minutes before we jumped into the game, because I was like, I want to use the dice roller, and I just didn't catch that I was short a die here. If I'd have caught it, it would have been like really obvious. But I rolled 1 basic. He rolled 3. He chooses, I think, for... See, and even there, I should have caught it as soon as I rolled the dice up, right? Like, I should have been like, oh, I'm short.
Yeah, because they don't show up even.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Like, there's just... But I'm so focused on, like, what he's rolling and all of these other things that it puts me into a position where I think I play the Scald in round 1, but I don't play the Salamander Monk. So I just get the Monk book on the board instead of playing it, right? And that's when I realized, like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be able to play a Monk book still here, or like be able to still cast a Monk. So because I roll the dice correctly and I don't have to meditate, I immediately go into the Augury and just get my Resonance, because he is playing Psychic Vampire, and I don't know whether or not Psychic Vampire is going to come out right away. So I just get the Resonance. I send the turn over to him, turn the turn on, and send it over to him. And then we're now just doing what this deck wants to do in round 1. So, anyways, I think the first play he is doing here is a Chant. No, it's an Archosaurus book, and then I think he chant books as well here. Yeah. So he's just setting up side actions for days here. It tells me the next play, like based on his dice configuration, is going to be a River Scald, or not a River Scald, but a and I just do this out of order. I have to put the book down first. So I just tell him, like, wait a minute, that's a side action. I have to put this book down first. So,
right. And all of these things, like, the first couple turns like this are very scripted for both players, I think. And
yeah. So I know he's going to get down at this point. I bring back 2 Sympathies. I have the Hound online through natural roll, which is always nice when you do that. But he's going to play round 1 here, Raptor Herder, and then Archosaurus mount it right away. I'm almost positive that's the play pattern, if I remember correctly, because I'm showing Odette, so he can't let me just take his Herder off the board with Odette. Oh, and he just buys time with Salamander or Lightbringer instead. So
yeah, you're not applying any pressure, so he can just do whatever he wants.
Right.
But you're right that he can't. In general, with Cerasaurus, you want to have the ally in play so you can Cerasaurus an attack.
Correct. And he's able to do that later.
That's not going to be a thing right now.
Yep. And so normally, I worry less about dice colors, but when you start River Skull, the dice colors are important here, because you need 3 Sympathy when you're done, which is why one of those, I have to spend the 3 Illusion on the Resonances and the Augury, so that I have all of the Sympathy dice available. And I just obviously this is where I figure out I'm short a die. So the die I'm short is...
You play this whole game with
No.
9 days.
No, he lets me bring it in here and I just roll it in. But obviously, like, I'm way far behind because now I can't play River Scald and Salamander Monk in the same turn, whereas normally I would be able to, because one of those Sympathies dice would just be still sitting in my pool instead of an Illusion die. So it's a huge mistake, obviously. Whether or not it cost me the game, I don't know. Like, you'll see this game has got a lot of moments where anything goes differently, and
I mean, he's way ahead of you on dice, but like, you having the double ping ready makes his, like, the Odette plus the double ping forces this for sure, where he has to make Cerasaurus in the same turn he plays the ally.
Maybe I just play the Salamander Monk into the Cerasaurus here. I can't remember for sure. There was some, like, the play patterns round over round were very similar for both of us, like over and over and over again, right? Because, like, we're basically both living on books.
The first 5 Scald is not looking very good here for you.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the, like, guaranteed big damage.
But I get it.
Well,
I can't use the sword as a removal, so I'm going to do 2 damage to the Cerasaurus here with the sword. That allows me to use Shadowhound Ping to kill Hatchling and kill Archosaurus.
Right. So I assume his main action will be attack with Archosaurus while it is not dead to book.
Yeah. You would be correct on that assumption. What I start to see in the 5 dice remaining is he's got a 3-cost unit left in his hand and can replay the Raptor Herder, is what I'm seeing. He can also play Lightbringer and force me to attack here. And that's not a bad play, so I think that's what he's going to go ahead and do, is force.
That's true. Activating Lightbringer makes it so you can't book his thing. Yeah, that's actually way better.
Yeah.
That just crushes you.
Yeah. So, again, if I could have Lightbringered, or I could have Salamander Monk, then the Salamander Monk plays around the Lightbringer, which is exactly why I have the Monk in this deck, is for Lightbringers and for sweepers and things of that nature. So,
right, this gets you really good because he can just take the 2. Well, yeah, he can just take the 2 on his James, and not only does the that make no blocks with the Scald for you, but having the Lightbringer to attack with pumps his Hatchling.
That's right. So he meditates 3 dice here, if I remember correctly. I have to attack the best.
Right. So now he's showing Grave Knight.
Yes, and I'll show you what I do to sort of slow him down a little bit here. I don't want to kill. I can kill the Archosaurus and turn off the rest of his board, so that's what I'm going to try to do. But obviously, James is just going to block it. And then he's going to have an open board for 6 damage here. Like, there's just nothing I can do to stop that. He's not going to lose that window of opportunity to do 6 here. So I'm going to end up at 12 ultimately. But then,
right, that Lightbringer was particularly brutal. It usually is. That card's very good.
It is good, and it's just a situation where. What we have to do is now, like, I have to punish his dice set a little bit. And so I'm going to go ahead and spend the 3, make the Shadow Hound. And I want to keep the Lightbringer up, because if I essentially keep the Lightbringers in play, like, he can't Lightbringer me as often, right? Like, it's kind of it's a weird.
So if it was me, I would have left the Cerasaurus in play.
Why?
So that he can't recast Herder this turn.
Well, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do next. So
I agree that killing the Lightbringer,
I illusion power
is the last target it should be, but
yeah, I illusion power both of the dice down. So I force a double meditation to make the Grave Knight. So he ends up pitching 5 cards to make this Grave Knight. If he makes another Herder here, I can just Odette the Herder. That's what I was thinking through. So, like, if he goes ahead and plays Herder again, like, I just Odette the Herder. He makes a Grave Knight. I kill the Grave Knight with a Shadow Hound. I'm still left with a Hatchling and a Lightbringer up, but next turn I can take care of those with Shadow Hounds. The Hatchling's not doing anything. One of the things that I considered here was, going back to the comment that Nick made in my round 1, where I took the Hatchling off the board because it represents a bigger threat when you can make a bunch of units, was this idea that I could, I'm happy to see Vengeance getting meditated away and a Grave Knight getting meditated away. This deck isn't really fast at, like, so 1 Final Cry down, one Grave Knight down. So this is second Grave Knight. And again, this is where I have to just main action slam Shadow Hound into Grave Knight, right? The stock ability.
Right. I think that's really good.
Yeah. So that Grave Knight cost him 3 dice, 5 cards, and didn't do anything. And I think that I felt really good about that as a whole. Obviously, here comes the Herder, and
right. It just, if you had killed the Lightbringer and the Raptor instead of the Cerasaurus, he just wouldn't have those.
Sure. But
play, and you still have the ping Cerasaurus next round.
But I Odette the Herder away and get it out of the way, so he doesn't have the.
Yeah, this is probably fine.
So he doesn't have he doesn't have the herder then to start round to like herder Archosaurus me again, right? Because there's 2 Archosauruses in the summons list. So I think 2 Archosauruses is really bad for me as a whole.
The Cerasaurus?
The Cerasaurus, yeah, sorry, not Archosaurus, Cerasaurus. So like
I mean, you're always gonna have you're always gonna have the option to ping the Cerasaurus. It doesn't have recover, right?
Correct. But I don't think I want to try to fight through 2 of them. Because he would just have the herder for the start of the top of the next round. He Jameses into another herder. So he's already setting it up again. But at least I forced him to use James and take a point of damage to do that. So, yeah, he doesn't use the Chant there because he used the James. But that's okay. I rolled really well through most of this game, just to be really honest. I don't feel like I rolled bad at all, like one die there. So we draw in, we pull another Sword of Virtue, and so I get really, like, the Shadow Guard here is really good at answering the Archosaurus. So, like, he's going to try to, like, play Archosaurus again, like Raptor Herder Archosaurus. And so I think I'm going to... There's a few different things that I want to do, but ultimately, like, he also spends some time meditating. So once he meditates, I just use a hollow here as well to take away his meditation.
His deck is definitely a deck that, like, doesn't care that it meditates.
No, it doesn't.
It's just so fast, it's never going to deck itself.
It comes close. But I mean, it was
the only thing that matters is the last point of life. So sure. Even if it goes to 0 cards, if it wins, like, this deck seems like the kind of deck that you should meditate aggressively in.
Yeah. So obviously he got the favorable round 1 exchange and got to go first at the top of round 2, but I think I took away, like, what this deck was really trying to do, which is hit you for 5 or 6 in round 1, go first round of 2, and hit you for another 5 or 6. Right?
Right, he obviously doesn't have a good attacks here.
Yeah.
He'll just get to, like, do the same thing he did last round where he plays Herder and then makes a Cerasaur.
Yeah.
And I assume...
And there goes one Psychic
maybe he had something better to do.
Another Blood Chains, and another Revival Pact. But he makes 3 Ceremonial big dice, which tells me he's going to try to pull back Grave Knight.
What is that card that you just meditated?
That's the Revival Pact. It puts 3 allies back into your deck.
Oh, I'm not looking at the right deck list. Sorry. There's another James player, so...
Yeah. No, this is Phillycheaz's.
I got real confused. It's Reclaim Soul is
Reclaim
what that
Soul.
is.
I'm sorry. That's the one that you can kill a unit to heal to.
Sack your own guy to gain 2.
Yep. So
that's what I thought it was, and I didn't see it in the list, so I got real confused.
I just go ahead and make a Salamander Monk because I can trade favorably with all of his attacks if he tries to attack me here.
This is a deck where Fire Archer is very good.
Yes.
Like, Fire Archer is a good card, but this is a deck where it's super, super good.
Yes. Because he's gonna make an Archosaurus on that Fire Archer and then attack me, is what he's gonna do.
That seems likely.
But I
consider killing it.
Yeah, but I have the Shadow Guard to kill it. That's how I consider killing it. I don't want a Sword of Virtue, a Fire Archer, or Odette, a Fire Archer here, because I know he's got Raptor Herder still in hand. So I've got the dice showing to Shadow Guard into the Archosaurus and just defend the Archosaurus. I take 1 off of that because of the overkill, but I think that's okay.
It just depends on which of the allies you want him to play twice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure which is correct.
Yep. So
he sends the team.
I tell him I got a reaction. So I play Shadow Guard. I go there, there, and there.
This is a good Shadow Guard for sure.
Yep. Take 1 from the overkill on the Archosaurus.
Took 2?
I don't know where I took 2 from. Oh, I held the skull back. I ended up just taking the 1 from the Lightbringer.
Oh, why didn't you block the Lightbringer?
I think it was going back to that same sequence of like if he has 2 Lightbringers in play, he can't Lightbringer me anymore.
I think you probably should have blocked the Lightbringer. Like, I mean, I guess you kind of get to eat it with the
Hound if I want to.
With your units now.
Yeah.
He still has like 7 dice and a bunch of dudes you're going to want to Hound. I think I probably would have blocked.
But I roll both Ceremonial dice down with the Hollow here. I got a lot of value out of the Hollow. I do Meditate 1. This puts me on the Hound. It does hit a Hound book, which is unfortunate because I think if I play second Hound this game, I'm not sure he can win. Like if I just start playing 2 Hounds a turn.
The pings are good against him, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And Hound lines up good with Cerasaurus.
Yep. And Grave Knight. There's no 3/4s in his deck.
Yeah, because his only way around it, he doesn't have anything.
Right.
Like, because his only removal spells are Blood Chains, and they can't target it until after it did its thing.
So here comes second Chant. The card that ended up being most dead to me was 2 Shadows. I considered on the last play, like, whether or not instead of Shadow Guarding, I should have just taken the 3 and then 2 Shadows, but I'm starting to feel like that life pool is becoming a liability. I know that the last life point matters, but when you've got 2 Chants on...
Well, that's why I agree with you. In this matchup, your life total should protect. So I think that...
So I just Shadowhound both.
That's why I think you should have blocked with Scald.
Yeah, I just Shadowhound both the Herder and the. And
that's also why I think you should have Odetted the other guy, because I think you'd rather let him recur. No, the Fire Archer that you left him play, because I think it's worse for you if he recurs Fire Archer than if he recurs Skull.
That's a good
Herder.
Point. That is a good point. I hadn't considered that as much as I probably should have.
Because, the way that it turned out, right? He Fire Archers you. The first Fire Archer is always going to do 1. Mm-hmm. Then if you Odette it, the Fire Archer does an additional 1, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. Well, now he's going to play Fire Archer again. It's going to do 1, and if you Odette it now, it's going to do, essentially he gets extra damage through. The counter argument being that he gets an extra Raptor. Mm-hmm. The other way, but if say if you had done that and you had blocked Lightbringer, mm-hmm. His board would just be Raptor right now. Mm-hmm. It'd be very difficult for him to turn the Raptor on.
So I start digging for another Scald here because I've got cards in hand. So I just send the Monk in at the untapped Lightbringer.
Right, and that's for sure your best attack. I assume he blocks it. I don't know.
I don't remember if he does here. I think so, because I think he's thinking the very similar things. Like, I want to be able to use Lightbringer again. If I don't block it, then he takes a minute to decide on it. But he saves a point of damage.
Okay, so he does let it die. I think that puts him less likely to be on more Raptor Herders this turn. Mm-hmm. Because he wants men in play, so his Raptors are good. Right. It doesn't matter what men they are. So now he's going to activate James. James is very good. I think we talked about this on stream.
James is super good.
Because we were talking about the best Phoenixborns.
Yeah, I think James is one of the better Phoenixborns in the game for sure. There's third Raptor.
So I guess I was wrong about that too. He's just going to play the Raptor even after.
I think that is not. That's not a.
This is why I think the no Phoenixborn block was weird. Maybe he's.
Well, he's got a Flash Archer still to play. Remember, because I gave him a Flash Archer back.
Fire Archer.
Fire Archer. Sorry, not Flash Archer.
Right. But it's still like.
So I offer the Hollow to the Herder to see if he wants to trade those two.
Yeah, this is really interesting, actually. So he definitely should block this one.
Right. I think so.
He needs to have guys in play for his Raptor to be good.
Right. The issue is that if he plays the Fire Archer, like I can just Odette the Hatchling, and I can just take one this whole turn, right? Like he's still got units in play. I'm pretty sure I end up at this point.
Right, you're in a lot of trouble to Chant.
That's the whole problem. Chant is just murdering me. I just lose to Chant.
His deck's cool. Yeah. Like, this is very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one thing that the old Sympathy illusion lacks is any kind of sweeper.
Yeah, it does. And it lacks I mean that's essentially Hound is sort of my sweeper, right? But
agreed. Yeah, for sure.
But the fundamental issue I have is like the Sword of Virtues here are sort of dead. Like I end up like Sympathy drawing a card. I'm hoping to draw a Scald is what I'm hoping. I get an Anchornaut.
Anchornaut's pretty good.
Pretty bomb here. Yeah. So like I was like, okay, what are the things that I can draw that could potentially do it? And ultimately I'll admit that I was seeking a River Skull because I just wanted to make another 2/2 body. But I go ahead and shoot the Herder, which turns off the I'm now done fighting Herders, right? Unless he's going to start taking points of damage to recur Herders. I'm just fighting Chants and Fire Archers now.
Yeah, I would be interested in what the community thinks about like the value of Herder versus Fire Archer at this juncture of the game.
So he meditates 2. I think he's planning to ping away my Hound if I attack, is all he's trying to do there. And I can't manipulate his dice now, so it's potentially possible. I think I go ahead and Odette the Hatchling just to get it away as well, so it's not lingering around over the turn.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
At this point, like, you're going to get to kill the Fire Archer before the round ends.
Mm-hmm.
You're just gonna.
Yeah. Yep, this is where I do it.
Yep, so you attack Fire Archer, which is good. And it's good to do, like, because his chants are exhausted right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to get to smash for 3 even, it looks like.
Yeah, I'll get to smash for 3. I will trade the Hound to smash for 3.
Did you consider discarding one of your removal spells to make a horse so that the next turn you could horsepower?
What would the horsepower get me?
I don't know. Just an additional draw towards an Anchornaut or something.
I considered getting rid of the Hollow for it. Like I figured the Hollow would be best because I'm near the battlefield limit now with the Anchornaut on board. Like the Anchornaut creates a battlefield problem for me. But I just go ahead and attack with Hound and let him.
Yeah, you definitely should
nature the Hound away.
You're just not going to win if you don't attack him with Hound there. I don't think.
Yeah.
Like you're just like not trying to win. But I think I probably would have. And this is really marginal. Because the game is almost over, I would have discarded one of the Swords of the Two Shadows.
The Two Shadows is probably the worst card for me here. In general,
right? That's probably true. And to meditate that to a horse, and then the next turn before you attacked with,
and look at that roll. I was rolling like hotcakes, and then just come up awful. But I think that I should have gotten rid of a sword and a Two Shadows to draw 3 cards here instead of just taking 1 card in hand. And that's also a mistake on my part. But the one nice thing is if he tries to Lightbringer me, I've got an Anchornaut on board, and I can just play another Salamander Monk. So like I'm just gonna like slow play this round,
Right. I mean, I think you're set up pretty good. You're just dead to fire archers and
I'm dead to fire archers and chance, and that's what ultimately kills me in this game. I mean, the first attack is what kills me. The fire archers and chance just finish me off. And I'm not sure there was a way to play around that first attack. The only other thing I could have considered around that first attack is first fiving a Shadow Guard. I've been considering first fiving Shadow Guard as a removal spell for unit attacks. Or if somebody plays like a knight, and I can't kill the knight, like, cool. I still put 3 damage on it, so then it just opens up the Hound to ping the knight away instead of having to use the Hound on the knight. So those are some of the things I've considered, but here's Fire Archer. And there's third Chant.
It's interesting that he didn't mount the Fire Archer.
Well, he knows if I kill the Fire Archer, he gets 3 damage, right? He puts me within 1, and then all I have to do is Ceremonial back and Archer.
Yeah, you're dead.
Yeah.
You're just real dead. Because I guess he doesn't actually have Ceremonial back a Fire Archer to kill you.
Not yet, but he's just got to meditate.
Well, he doesn't have 2 Ceremonial dice left. You'd need a class and a power. So he can't actually kill you. Like if you killed the Fire Archer, put him on 3 chant damage, he wouldn't be able to get the last damage out of that specifically. But
I think I ultimately, like, one of the things I could have done here as a side action is Augury. So I attacked the Lightbringer. I just want to take the Lightbringer away from him as a block.
Why did you choose Lightbringer?
Because
just because of the chant? Yeah,
if I hit the Fire Archer, I put all 3 chants on, right? And if he wants to go ahead and Archosaurus mount,
and he didn't counter. Oh, I guess that's probably correct against the, because then you don't get to make an additional 1/1.
Yeah. And then I meditate some here. I think I meditate an Anchornaut away because I don't want to fill my last battlefield slot with an Anchornaut when I want to play Shadowhound into it. And then I say go. I could have probably meditated the other 3 cards, and I probably should have from the top of deck. One of the things that I could have done there with that Augury is get other Shadowhound book, because I'm going to be able to open up my board by just I don't think he's going to not play Archosaurus and attack, right? Like, I think that's one of the things he's going to do. And if he plays Archosaurus and attacks, like, I can just take the Anchornaut and defend it and take 1, and now the Archosaurus is out of play, right? I don't give him the Fire Archer back. Like I said, it comes down to, can I do 10 damage this turn? And so the way I see that is I'm looking at Scald and Hollow. Those are both worth 2. The Salamander Monk's worth 1. That's 5. I've got 3 off of the Shadowhound, makes 8, and the last Hollow in hand makes 10. So I have the lethal in hand if I can open the board up, if that makes sense. So...
Right. I mean, I think that's very unlikely for him not to have dudes in the way. One of your attacks is going to be forced by Lightbringer. He'll have a guy for sure then.
Correct. And so, again, this is where, like I said, if I would have just played Augury, actually used Augury instead of meditating there, like I'd have been able to... I would have been able to open up a double Shadowhound play, and I think I can win on double Shadowhound play. So it's mistakes across the board here, but
yeah, I mean, that is a line you could take. Are you sure your Shadowhound book is in the pile?
Yeah, there's only 1, and I've only got 5 cards in my whole discard this game.
Oh.
Like so I just play the Hollow. I roll down the Power dice and the Divine die. That takes away the Lightbringer without meditation. But I was going to play the Hollow anyways, right? Like, we knew that.
Right. I mean,
but this is where
this game still looks pretty close.
This is where I mess up. I needed to meditate there and meditate all my dice. Like, just take them all to power sides. Like, because the game is almost over, right? It's virtually almost over. He plays a single unit.
Yeah, the game's going to end this turn.
Right.
Like, you know it is.
Right. And so I should have just, like, taken all my dice to the appropriate sides and had the option of using Sympathy to dig into the deck for another ally. And
he has a Grade Knight.
Yep.
That's problematic.
I have. I mean, it's. Yeah.
I guess you have sword,
right? But sword turns on chant. See, so this puts me on the clock. Right, we're 3 turns from the game being over now, no matter what.
Right, there was no way you're gonna like play through this turn without killing an ally.
Correct.
You might, at least that's a good one for you to kill.
But again, here's where I also needed to.
You could have meditated again there,
and I would have had particle shield up. Does
that matter?
It does. You'll see why.
Okay.
Because he can't.
I didn't know that he had any direct damage.
Anchornaut 1. And it's not in the bin.
That's funny.
It's so I was so disappointed in myself for that.
That's really funny.
Yeah, because I'm now off of the double hound play completely. So
right.
So at this point, like.
But you have particle shield up right now.
I do, but he's not anchornauting me yet. He doesn't have to. He can just pass. Right, like I'm not winning yet, so he's going to force that. He's going to force the hound out. Right, like that. That's what's happening right now. It puts the hound into play. I pound ping my own Salamander monk to make a spirit.
Right, that's fine.
And then I put 1 on the Cerasaurus because why not? Right?
Sure.
If I meditate here into Particle Shield, which is just a huge misplay, I just didn't think about the Anchornaut. Like, forgot about the Anchornaut in his deck list. Like, right? So, then I save my unit from the Anchornaut. I'm still dead because he can meditate into Lightbringer, and I have no way around it. So he's got to make the Anchornaut, and I have to attack.
Even Anchornaut by itself kills you, right? Because even if you particle shield it,
yeah, 7. I have 8 damage.
He has a blocker.
I have 8 damage, and he'll be at 9. So yeah, that's exactly right, and which is why I needed 1 more ally. And I should have just, like I said, I think at the start of the round, I should have gotten rid of all of my removal except for 1 Sword of Virtue. And just said, okay, I'm going to go into this round with Sword of Virtue and Particle Shield and draw 3 cards. Because if I get anything else, like a River Scald or anything, I might actually win this game. But it's...
Was he out of Fire Archers?
Yes.
He must have been, because otherwise he would have just killed you there.
Right.
Oh, no, he can't. Because it would have to be sighted. Yeah. I mean, this kills you too pretty effectively. So
right. So I can see the game, but ultimately I would have been able to hit for 8. And take him to 1. So yeah. There's no way around it. With
his deck's cool.
Yeah.
Like,
so it's one of those things where you know, I don't think there was any one particular play line that was wrong on my side. It was just
the only thing I think that was like, and I don't think this had a big effect on the whole game. The only thing I think was like just not good was you not blocking the Lightbringer in round 2.
The one thing that was
round 1.
The one thing that was really bad, in my opinion, was not being able to play Salamander Monk round 1 because I didn't have.
Oh yeah, and also just misbuilding your deck, but
yeah.
But yeah, the only play that like I think was pretty easy that you missed was blocking that Lightbringer. Yeah. And I guess meditating in the last round, but I think you were dead regardless of what you did in the last round, because of the Anchornaut.
Sure.
Even like. It didn't even have to be Anchornaut. He could James for any ally that he could cast.
He's got 3 cards left in his deck, though. That's it.
Oh,
so it's not any ally he can cast. He's literally told
just
me
any ally that it could be.
Yeah, but he told me he was literally that was the only ally he had left in his whole deck.
Yeah.
So I think if it's anything else, like a Psychic Vampire or anything like that, like I just easily win on that.
Well, I don't believe it. Like he still hasn't activated. Like he spent a divine there that he didn't need to spend. Like he still hasn't activated Lightbringer. So he had 2 units. As long as he had a single ally in his deck, he had a Lightbringer and that ally to block with.
Right. And
you were at 2 with 2 chant tokens.
Which is why I said, like all along, I just needed I needed 1 more ally this game. So, and probably just like I said, taking Augury and putting me on second Hound book, and just playing Hound and like clearing my own board after using them to value. but I don't know whether I have enough time for that. But I played a Hollow instead of a Hound, so like if I just go like Hound Hollow, like
yeah, because of the number of blockers he had, Hound and Hollow are very similar at killing him.
Yeah,
they're just going to get blocked.
Well, but only one of them can get blocked, and so if one of them gets blocked, it's still, I guess, it's 7 damage.
He has Lightbringer, so you got to remember that if the turn is going to play out a little differently if you play an early like second book.
Sure.
So we don't know what would happen. I think he probably like goes to 1 or 2. And
it's possible.
And then in the time that it takes you to die to Chant, I'm looking at your deck list here to see if you had anything at all that you could have drawn if you had like horsepowered at that other end. And
the only thing I could have drawn on a horsepower end that may have made a difference would have been River Scald.
And your draw step.
Yeah.
I guess River Scald's the only thing.
There was 2 Scalds still left. They were both in the deck still. So
yeah.
So anyways, yeah, it was
a cool game. That was a really cool deck to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's well built, and obviously, I think it puts a lot of pressure on decks that aren't playing Shadowhounds. I mean, you have to have a sweeper answer for that deck, right? Like you just do. And sweeper answers aren't good enough to answer Grave Knight, so you still have to have like good single target removal also. And so, like a lot of decks don't have that. Obviously, like Problems deck I played last week had both, right? Between Shared Sorrows and 6 sweepers. But yeah, I mean, I think that deck was beatable by Odette in my Shadow.
Agreed. The game was really close. I think that there were a few places you could have protected your life total a little, like 2 points or so. But like I said, I still think that he had the 3 chance. I don't think you're going to kill him in that round. And it's, 3 chances, a lot of your life total when you essentially started at 12.
Right. Yeah, I just said, like, one of the problems this deck has is, like, not having access to natural dice is not being able to side action remove a blocker. So I think one of the things that it needs is some sort of like side action. How do I avoid your blocker? And so it kind of goes back to whether or not Secret Door needs to be in the list. Because then the Hounds, like, you get 3 damage to the face if you need it. Like in that scenario, like
I think that would be tough. Like you used all 3 of your spell slots every turn, and each of them was very important.
Well, yes, I'm saying more for like in the like right now there's a Guilt Link in the list, and I don't think I'm ever going to play Guilt Link. Like it just seems very unlikely. I don't know what list I would play Guilt Link against. I guess potentially if there's Archosaurus mounts that I'm going up against, because those are kind of problematic for my Hounds to deal with.
Right. Specifically when we built the list, it was just there
because
against Hydra combo, right?
Yeah, I mean, or just Hydras in general, because like Hydra is also kind of a difficult card for me to deal with specifically.
Since it heals itself, yeah.
Yeah, so, but swords are just so efficient anyways at dealing with all that stuff that like,
right.
I just don't need the Guilt Link at all, so I think that could just be a Secret Door. And, it doesn't have to be like a primary strategy. Like I'm not going to Secret Door my first 5 and like try to like hammer, damage home with the Shadowhound. I'm going to play exactly like I'm playing right now. The difference being is that if it's available in the late game through Augury, like I can Secret Door, I can grab it with Augury on Secret Door and then just like play the Secret Door, and it gives me finishing power, right? Like otherwise, just little 1/1 crapper units just become they become my bane, right? In terms of being able to finish games. And I don't have like a Molten Gold to finish a game, right? I don't have like a Final Cry to finish a game. Maybe the deck needs Sympathy Pain as a finisher. Like you take some damage and you Sympathy Pain back. Like it's possible that that's just sort of what it's missing right now. But I don't know what you would like. The list is not exactly easy to make cuts for cards like that, right?
Right. I mean, I'm still a big believer in like you can win games without direct damage.
Sure.
But
it sure does make it easier to win with direct damage, though.
Well, I won my last round without any direct damage.
Sure.
Like, your deck of all 1 toughness creatures is a little harder to do because you can't, like, attack and then attack again top of round.
Right. But
it's still... I think it's still possible. I still like your deck, and I just thought that match was really cool, the way that played out.
Yeah, there was a lot that happened in 4 rounds there.
His deck is really cool.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was neat to see his deck ultimately be a battlefield that got, like, my battlefield got established, and it's the first time I've established that, like, that many permanents in play and lost. So again, I don't know if I really take much away from that loss, as far as, like, there are such minor things that could have changed in any given sequence that I have a hard time in analyzing it and deciding, like, where was the mistake made that cost me the game. Now, I just can't decide whether not blocking Lightbringer or not is there, because that's 2 more damage on him.
Well, I don't think that cost you the game.
Sure.
Like, I don't think any one thing you did cost you the game. I mean, you can play perfectly and still lose. That's the nature of card games.
Sure.
I don't think you played perfectly. I don't know if he played perfectly because I didn't see his cards in hand, but, like, you know, ultimately he ended up beating you, but I don't think you made any, like, catastrophic errors.
Sure. I think the one thing, like, I didn't, like, yeah, I don't know. I just didn't have early enough answers to that quick attack for 6 damage, right? And that comes down to, number one, the start of the game and what happened. So maybe it is just all in the start of the game that I lose this because of the dice error. But yeah, that's just is what it is. That's to me, that's one of the problems with Tabletop Simulator. Like, if I was playing in real life, obviously my deck is my deck and my dice are my dice. They would all be there, right? Like, it's not it's not something you would miss.
I don't feel much sympathy for you for having 9 dice.
I know. I'm not asking for sympathy.
That's on you.
I agree completely, but I do think that's a thing that is less likely to occur in a real tournament. Like, I'm not bringing my whole card set to a tournament, right? I'm bringing my deck and my dice. They're all inclusive and all included, and that's
and I don't think that lost you the game either. Like, obviously it was less than ideal, but
well, he Lightbringer to my River Skull. If I had a Salamander Monk out instead, he Lightbringer's a Salamander Monk, right?
So if you're looking for something that you did wrong that you can learn from, that's it. Like, bring your whole pile, because I mean, you're right. It was not ideal, but there's, like, you only have yourself to blame. There's nothing you can do, and
I agree. I'm not disagreeing. Like, I'm just not. So that's not like a strategic error. It's not like a great play that he made. It has nothing to do with the actual play of the game. Right. Yep. So, all right, man. Well, that's going to do it for this match. Obviously, we appreciate all of you that watch us and continue to interact with us both in chat, in Twitch, and then also on our YouTube channel. If you like the content today, be sure to give a thumbs up. It helps us know that we're doing the right things. And if you really love our content, nothing says that more than subscribing to the channel. And we will be back with more Ashes coverage next week. And then also, don't forget that Nick Connolly will be joining us live on stream Thursday, March 11th. From 6:30 Central till probably right around 7:30 Central or so, and we'll be talking all things Jericho. So until then, everybody, take care. We'll see you soon.